Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you. Today is going to be marked as the most important day in the annals of IITGuwahati because we have the huge honor and privilege of having Professor C.N.R. Rao with us, who is the most celebrated scientist in India and in the world. I request our esteemed director, Professor Gautam Biswas, and Professor Guru Prem Prasad, Dean of Academic Affairs, to accompany the guest to the dais. May I now request Professor Prasad to welcome the guest with a flower bouquet. Thank you, sir. Now I request our director, sir, to felicitate Professor C.N.R. Rao with a traditional gongcha. Thank you, sir. May I now request our director, Professor Biswas, to say a few words on this occasion.
Professor C.N.R. Rao, Madam Rao, Vice Chancellor of Guwahati University, Professor Mridul Hajarika, all the faculty colleagues, other dignitaries, and my dear students, it's really a very important occasion in our academic calendar that we are starting our academic year almost in line with many other well-known universities like commencement lecture. Here we are being blessed by Professor Rao. Professor Rao is celebrated for his monumental contribution in the areas of solid-state and structural chemistry, surface phenomena, spectroscopy, molecular self-assembly, and nanotechnology. Professor Rao is currently National Research Professor and Venus Pauling Research Professor at the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, Bangalore. His work on transitional metal oxides has led to basic understanding of novel phenomena and the relationship between material properties and the structural chemistry of such materials. Besides being the fellow of the Indian National Science Academy and Indian Academy of Sciences, Professor Rao is a fellow of the Royal Society of London. He has received a large number of awards and honors from all over the world. Formally, when he will be introduced by Professor Ratna, those will be mentioned. I am just mentioning a few. He is the recipient of Hughes Medal of Royal Society in 2000, Dan David Prize, which is called usually Israeli Nobel Prize. He got in 2005 together with Professor George Whitesides and Robert Langdon. He was given Knight of the Legion of Honor by the French government in the same year. Professor Rao received August Wilhelm von Hoffmann Medal of German Society of Chemistry in 2010. Order of the Rising Sun, which is highest civilian honor of Japan, He was given in 2015, this year. Because of his ill health, he could not go to Japan. Government of Japan took very special care. Entire delegation came to Japanese embassy in Delhi for giving this award to him. He was conferred with Bharat. He was conferred with Bharat Ratna Award, which is the again highest civilian award of Government of India, on 4th February 2015 by the President of India in a very special ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. His mental powers are of the highest order. An outstanding memory enabled him to acquire knowledge without any difficulty anywhere. And the critical spirit let him put it into best use of human being. For more than 40 years, he has epitomized Indian science through consistent and continuous contribution. His appearance and demeanor, his lion-like countenance, his deep sonorous voice, unfathomable knowledge, and scientific arguments, all combined to make him a doyen of Indian science, face of Indian science, and most outstanding personality of our time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. What could be a better way to start the academic program by having an institute lecture under the aegis of academic body, pillar of any institution, having Professor C.N.R. Rao, who is an inspiration and role model for many scientists, budding researchers and technocrats. Without taking much time, I request Professor C.N.R. Rao to address the gathering and to deliver the institute lecture. Professor C.N.R.
Dr. Vishwas, distinguished colleagues, and other members of the institute, and most importantly, my dear students. I am very happy to be here in IITGuwahati. I've not been here for a very long time. It's nice to see this beautiful campus and something that is thriving. Today I had a choice of talking about many things. I even thought of talking about something related to the development of science, history of science, all kinds of things, and then decided not to do that, but instead talk about what it is to do science in India. And the first few minutes I'll say a few personal notes just to give you a frame and for understanding the rest of the things I'm going to say. What I say is going to be simple. Everybody can understand, but everyone can also probably do things that I'm going to say. I myself was born in 1934. I am in my 82nd year. But when I was born, in the early days, I was in Bangalore. It was a very quiet, nice city. No crowds anywhere. People walked everywhere. There were no cars. And India had no freedom. India was a colony of the British. And it was during when I entered college. I entered college at the age of 13. And 1947, when India got freedom. I still remember those wonderful days, particularly August 15, 1947, when there was joyous celebration everywhere in all the cities and towns of Bangalore. The early days of independence were very difficult. You may not know that. Many people don't know this. I remember when I was in early days of college, food was rationed in Bangalore and probably the rest of India. You had ration cards for cloth, food, kerosene. You couldn't get anything so easily. It was very, very difficult to live those days, but nobody worried about it because we just had freedom and we were all looking forward to a new India. And I finished my undergraduate studies in Bangalore, then decided I should go north to north, to the north of India, where the real India existed according to me, because I knew the freedom movement was some more in the north. So I came to Banaras University to do a master's degree. And then in BHU that I decided to become a scientist. In fact, it was here then when I was doing my studies, I started my master's studies at the age of 17. I read this famous book of Linus Pauling, The Nature of the Chemical Bond. That book revolutionized chemistry. For those who do not know, the way a book can impact an entire field of study and entire area of research is something people cannot understand, but that book did. That book changed the face of chemistry, what chemistry was. It dealt with the chemistry of molecules, structure, how understanding bonds in molecules, to understand the properties, the reactivity, various things of that kind. So I thought, my God, that is the kind of research I want to do. In fact, as I was reading that book, there was a big discovery by Linus Pauling. He saw the structure, the first structure of the alpha helix protein in 1951. That's my God. How did this man do the structure of a protein? I didn't know different between a protein or something else. So I went everywhere and wrote a letter to him. Dear Professor Pauling, do you think I can come and work with you for PhD? And he wrote back a very nice letter. You know, I unfortunately wrote in my letter, dear Professor Pauling, can I work on molecular structure that I wrote? Because that is what I was impressed reading this book. He said, no, I no longer work on molecules, I work on these proteins. However, you can work with another student of mine who does molecular structure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I went to the United States very much within a year after my master's degree. I did my PhD doing electron diffraction of gases, various things. In fact, I was very, not only ambitious, but restless as a PhD student. Any professor who said something which I thought was interesting, I would immediately go look it up, do something on that, and write a little note on something new I thought was there, and take it to him. In fact, I ended up publishing with at least 7 to 8 professors at the university, in addition to my PhD guide. In fact, my PhD guide within, I published only 5 papers, but the rest of the papers I had, about 17 papers I had in various major journals. And it is also interesting that during my master's thesis, those days in MSc, to do a thesis in Banaras University. I did a thesis, so I had written in 1955 a small note, just myself, just C.N.R. Rao. I sent to a very well-known magazine, Science. You know the Science is very difficult to publish even today. And amazingly, it got accepted. I was amazed at how this little note I sent was accepted. So that was my first major publication in life when I was, I don't know, about 20 or 30 years old or something. So with that background and with my PhD, then I went to do postdoctoral work at University of California in Berkeley. That was the home of chemistry. Even today, that is the greatest chemistry department we have in the world, built by the great G.N. Lewis. And I did my postdoctoral there and was wondering what to do. I had a wonderful stay. But just then I was thinking about what to do. I got 2-3 offers of being a faculty member in American universities. One of them was such a tempting offer. So considering the number of publications, I had already about 25 papers to my credit. Considering that this publication record will promote you as associate professor within 2 years if you join this university. So I didn't know what to do. At that time, I just had an offer from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, as a staff member, as a faculty member. Well, that is when I decided to come back. If I didn't come back, then I would never have come back. So I thought that the decision had to be yes or no, had to be decided very easily. Then those days, very few came back to India. I'm talking about the year 1959. This is a brief history I want to tell you. When I came back, what happened? Now I tell you the real story. I want to do science. How do you do science? There was nothing, no facilities. No facilities for any mention was there in any of the institutions in the country. For example, if you take an infrared spectrometer, which is routine in a chemistry department, or an ultraviolet spectrometer, recording spectrometer or something. No institute in India had it. Not only Indian institutes, no IIT Kanpur, Italy, nobody had any facility. There was nothing called X-ray spectrometer. There was nothing, I didn't know how to do spectroscopy, molecular structure of the kind I was doing in America without any spectrometers, without any facilities. This was the problem. So that's when I decided, well, I must somehow do something. I used to borrow here and there. Professor C.V. Raman used to be there. In Bangalore, he helped me to do one or two experiments, and to go all over the place, run some spectra, write some papers. In fact, I wrote one paper with a student of mine in 1960. It became a citation classic based on borrowed things here and there, doing little spectrum here, little spectrum there. It was a very tough life. Well, anyway, I did continue to publish. I guided a lot of PhD students, a few PhD students under those conditions. And then you see, I got a chance to go away to IIT Kanpur 3-4 years later. A new IIT Kanpur was coming up, and I went there. I was the first batch of professors of IIT Kanpur. I was also the first head of the chemistry department there. I was not yet 30 years old at the time, very young. But the department, the director there was such a great man. He really trusted people like me, before I became 30 years old, to be head of the department. And it was one of the greatest chemistry departments we ever had in this country. It came out to be a very fantastic department. IIT produced more good chemists than any other chemistry department of India. Till now it is the case. All the big names, any name you have said would have come from IIT Kanpur chemistry department at that time. It was fantastic. But anyway, it was when I'm doing this, I was wondering what is it that I do in India that is important, but where I do not compete with the rest of the world. You see, we are not in a position to compete with the world. A similar position we are facing now. You could compete with the world without proper equipment. Kanpur IIT has slightly better equipment than Bangalore, but still not comparable to the best. Well, then I decided to start a new area of chemistry in the early days of IIT Kanpur and the last 2 days in Bangalore, the area of the chemistry of solids. In fact, that subject didn't exist. There were hardly any solid-state chemists in the world, maybe 4 or 5 in the entire world. I thought that is the one I should do, because that is where not too many people are there. I can still do some things from India. For those who have forgotten, let me remind you of a famous poem of Robert Frost. Robert Frost, the famous poem says, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Taking the lonely road, secret message. So very important today even. You must pick areas where it is not too crowded. That has made difference. In fact, today, wherever I go to work, people think I'm the grandfather of some state and materials chemistry. In fact, I even tell this joke many places. I was in an international airport after giving a lecture in a conference in some place with another friend of mine, and this one gentleman came running. Hello, Professor Rao, I heard your lecture, I really enjoyed it. But I knew another man by your name who had published this paper 40 years ago. By now, probably he is dead, I think. I said, no, it is me. He said, that's been a wonderful experience. Let me tell you, when I was doing like this, working on new things in my own choice, one day I got by that time I had written some books. When I was 26 years old, I wrote my first book on ultraviolet spectroscopy. When I was 29 years old, the second book of mine is a 700-page book, came from academic press on infrared spectroscopy molecules. And then I got this letter one day in Kanpur in 1964 by Professor C.N.R. Dear Dr. Rao, he said, I have seen your book on infrared spectroscopy. Anyone who can write this book should be a member of the Indian Academy of Sciences. I hope you have no objection if I see to it that you become a member of the Indian Academy. I was very, very young. I was not yet 30. I was just barely 30 years old. It was a tremendous thing to hear from a great man like Raman. So I did become a member of the Academy. A year later, I was walking up the stairs to have tea in the faculty club of IIT Kanpur with friends. I got a letter from London saying, we have found the work on solid cell is doing. We have found, after considering various possible people, we have found that you are the most deserving young physical chemist in the world. They gave a young physical chemist below 35 an international medal called the Marlowe Medal with the Harley Society in England, and we are decided to award you this thing. It's something completely out of the world. I didn't know who they were and who awarded me that. And that I thought was very important. This recognition by Raman and this medal, I got, maybe I am doing the right thing. Maybe I am going on the right path. Because there was no way for me to check within India whether I was doing the right thing. There's no one to say, well, they're okay. If anything, people will say, they will in fact make fun of me. Oh, what is all this not solid state? There is nothing like that. People would say, my own friend, they will wave me back, of course. Nobody would not tell me in the front, but obviously in the back. And incapable of talking behind anyone back. I am very straightforward, in fact, get into trouble by that. But these people used to say that, but they had to keep quiet because these people started recognizing this subject. Of course, today, solid state and materials chemistry is such a major field. In fact, it has become one of the major directions of chemistry. In chemistry today, there are two major directions. One is chemical biology, other is solid state materials field. Other areas are there, but people can work on it. If you want to be in the major stream, major aspects of chemistry today, you have to be working in one of these fields. So I'm very glad I started so early in this fantastic area. Well, the reason I'm telling you all this is, that's how I have come up. So many things improved, I got all kinds of things and started doing many things. Eventually I came back to IISc in 1976 to build a new department devoted to my subject. That happened because I was a Commonwealth professor in Oxford University for 1 year. That again is surprise. One day I got a letter saying, we would like you to come to Oxford as a professor for 1 year to work on solid state chemistry. I went there, fantastic experience. I published all kinds of papers with many people there. And then I said, look, I'm going to build a department devoted to this subject with as many facilities as required to do top class research. In fact, I could do that in Bangalore. I could go back to Bangalore in IISc. Thanks to Satish Dhawan who made me come there. He was a very great friend of mine, Satish Dhawan, and I started there. Well, with all this, even then, you see, even in those days, things were not easy, it was difficult to do things, but anyway, I could do something. Okay, coming back to living this history, what amazed me was, what amazed me about India is, even with all the poverty we had in the 1950s, in 1958, Pandit Nehru passed the famous science policy resolution in the parliament, saying that India will make use of science in every possible way for the betterment of the people of India. How many countries did that? Of course, we had no science, we had no facilities. That's what I was telling you till now. But science policy resolution affirmed my faith in science and in India being a great promoter of science. It is unbelievable. So it is that type of thing that always has bound me to India. Here we were a poor country, with nothing, but we believed in science. But we had nothing to offer, unfortunately. We had no facilities. It is only, you may not believe it, with all these years, it's only the last 20 years I have a laboratory as good as the best. Today, if you come to my laboratory in Bangalore, you don't have to go to Harvard, MIT, or Stanford, this is as good as those places. And I took a long time to build such a laboratory. But anyway, coming back, what is it we are facing today in India? Well, in the 1980s, mid-80s, I was advising Rajiv Gandhi, I was the chairman of the Science Advisory Council to the Prime Minister at the time, Rajiv Gandhi. We felt that India is come away. Science is coming out, all the institutions are working out, working very well. But unfortunately, at that time, soon there was a big change in the geopolitical structure. I hope you know, right? The famous Soviet Union went away, all kinds of globalization came, new powers came in the world. In the Asia, two new powers have come in a very big way. One is South Korea, other is China. I put that in that order. South Korea got freedom at the same time as India, but South Korea today is the most leading country in science and technology, and also in higher education. They spend more on education and more on science than any other country in the world, in terms of percentage of GDP. Then of course China, I don't have to mention, is a very, very huge economy, very huge in everything. In fact, many of you may not know, I was an Einstein professor in China. I went to many places, and again, for some other thing, when I got an award from there, when I went to any university I went to give a talk, I would ask them, how many students, PhD students are there in, say, physics department or chemistry department? Oh, we have only 700 students. 700 students in chemistry department? Yeah, 700. So how many professors? We have 250 professors in physics department. But the numbers are unbelievable, it's staggering. And then they are now producing the largest number of undergraduates in science and engineering in the world. No country can compete with them in terms of the number of graduates we produce. As you know, until last year, the United States produced roughly 23,000 PhDs per year. China used to produce around 15 or 16,000. We produce 8,000. And China has decided to produce 30,000 PhDs per year, above the United States. Last year, they already reached 22,000 or something like that. I asked my friend, who is the head of the Chinese Academy, I said, why are you producing so many PhDs? What do you do with them? In fact, many of them have no jobs. In fact, there are no jobs in science or engineering, but they get degrees in science and engineering. Not so. But in the Chinese way, do it all, produce it all. But we don't say that also. We say, we produce little, except the population of course, they're doing very well. They're going to beat China in about 2 years. Leaving that aside, India is not doing very well in quantity. I hope you know that the United States publishes 16.5% of world science. China used to produce, until last few years ago, 10 or 11%. They were 2.5% 15 years ago. India was 2.5% of world science 15 years ago. I hope you remember the major article in Science about 15 years ago, written by my very dear friend Sir David King, who said China and India to be exactly the same, with 2.5% of world science. Now, China has now produced almost the same as America. In another year, maybe even this year, China will overtake America in the quantity of science from the world. It is going to be 16 or 17% from China. America will become number 2. What about India? Still 2.5%. They study and come. They are very reliable people. Never change. I don't mind actually this. I'm not apologetic. I don't mind if it's 2.5%. But what about the quality? We have to improve the quality of science. And quality of the engineering work we're doing. Engineering science. When I say science, please assume I'm saying science and engineering. But every time we say science and engineering, we refer. Doing engineering, science, everything. Well, quality is the essence of it. You see, there are ways of measuring it. I don't want to argue about which is the best way to measure. There is one person who writes about top 1% of the research in the world. When you take the top 1% of the research in the world, 63.5% from the United States. Most of the top research in the world still comes from the United States. Number doesn't matter. China was 0.5% along with India 15 years ago. Both of us were less than 1%. But China is almost 6 to 7%, is going to 10% in the near future. We are still 0.5%. That is not nice. That is terrible to me. How can my country do that? How can we put up with this kind of state of affairs when we don't produce large quantity? It doesn't matter. How about high quality of fantastic original pieces of work in science, engineering, or need not be original in terms of research, even otherwise, new innovations. Why are we so bad? This bothers me. You know, I worked in India now, 56 years as a professor. And as I kept at 82 now. I worked a long time. I continue to work. I still work as a young person. But I'm giving a tough time, and also to the young fellows to compete with me. And I think that's very important for old people to compete with young people and make them work harder. But what is it we should do? Well, there are many things that have happened. When I analyze it, it is only the value system in society. Value system is that somehow in India, suddenly banking, management, investment, foreign investment, these are the things that make news. Look at the front page of most newspapers. They will talk about the FBI, they will talk about various things. They will say how an IIM graduate, IIT they never mention, IIM graduates, how IIM Bangalore graduate got 75 lakhs salary per year per page. What the hell? Who can get it? They were never published. Why can't they publish how low a salary I get? It will be in front page, it will be very nice. I think it's ridiculous value system. You see, every parent and even society in general, in say a place like Bangalore, want every child to go the way they want it. Everyone wants to go to engineering. So Bangalore has 67 engineering colleges. Ridiculous actually. And many of them don't get jobs. They get in fact, some of them come back, give me 3,000 rupees or what you are. No, after they bachelor's degree in engineering, they're pathetic. They're producing lots of graduates with proper training. So you in IITs won't understand how lucky you are not to have to suffer with respect to quality and education. So that poor guys, poor boys, why do they pay such a big price? Why are we pushing children this way? Why can't we allow the children to take up the subjects they like, the passions they have in their life, whatever that they are? I think we should allow that. I think India requires poets, economists, philosophers, every kind of person in every kind of sphere. And we should allow the children to go up. That is not what we are doing. We are pushing them in directions where whether the children like it or not, that has been a very good thing. Not a very good thing. Anyway, this balanced approach to things in our society has been part of the problem why India is not doing well. Second, personal qualities and the qualities in society. But in India, failure is not tolerated. As C.N.R. also said, he used to say all the time, you know, if you fail, it means, it's finished. No, but failure is the road to success. Without a proper failure, you will not do good science. No, you mean the first experiment you will succeed and publish a great paper? No. You will fail several times. Eventually, you get the right idea, right way of doing it. You may get a great paper, you may become famous in the world. If I made a mistake, may God, C.N.R. made a mistake, they bring good papers. Ridiculous. We have to learn to tolerate failure, tolerate the shortcomings of individuals. We can't all be same. We have to be different. If we are all the same, it will be a terrible world. I think this variety, diversity of India must be tolerated in all respects. And then we must have a sense of humor. We have to live in India. That is why I have lived so well, recently so long. You must have a sense of humor. Otherwise, you can't enjoy India. If you are very serious about everything, you will hang yourself soon. Another thing is, we should not lose your temper. There are some friends of mine I know, I don't want to say where, in particular parts of India is much more. I don't want to say which part, I'm pretty close to those parts. Where anything, they're always, even the way they talk, they're always angry, always shouting at each other. My goodness, why are they so angry? I don't know. And in fact, you can't even ask somebody, how do you do? He will say, tell you a very long story, how he is doing. If you don't want to, you can't talk to them properly. In fact, somebody said, did you have lunch? If you asked, what do you mean? I have lunch. What do you mean you are asking me like this? So this anger is another one, and generally intolerance in general, envy, these are all qualities which criticize. In India, unfortunately, anger is very, you can't tolerate. You know, some small thing happens which affects you badly. The rest of your life will be suffering and moping instead of doing more work and get out of it. That is the problem. Suppose you want a medal or some award, you don't get it. The rest of the life, you'll be crying why you didn't get that medal, rather than doing something more, get some other medal. So I think this is the thing. In fact, I always say, those who fight with their wives at home cannot do good results. I've never had a fight with her in now 55 years of marriage. Because the happiness and the sense of humor, I said, I think India we have to cultivate. But seriously, coming back to what I was saying, we have to change in India. Leaving the few lighter comments I made. We have to work as individuals, we have to work as groups, we have to work on the right problems. We have to know what research to work on. And Michael Faraday long ago said, doing science is very easy. Picking the problem is difficult. The problem of Indian science, I can tell you, I'm not talking about engineering or anything, just science. We do a lot, even the good work that is done by India, nobody cites it, people get unhappy, we are not cited, nobody reads our papers. That is why that's the mood now in India, in the world. You write all you want in all the journals, in the best journals, nobody reads. Nobody says, oh, wonderful, wonderful, because you have written that paper. No, no, that's all over. It's extremely difficult to get recognition today. To get a very good paper published is becoming more difficult today than 10 years ago. I remember, I would write a paper and send to Physical Review or American Chemical Society 10, 15 years ago. Very easily it would get published. The same paper would not be accepted today. Quality required of experimental work or theory, whatever you are doing, is very high, increasing all the time. Much more than that, the competition is going. In fact, there is a meeting of editors of various professional journals recently where I was asked to address them along with another friend of mine from Harvard. And there, they all said, it is very difficult for us to even referee papers. Because China sends so many papers, they are unable to referee. So they are rejecting papers without referee by just looking at the title and the address. So many Indian papers get returned. If you send a good journal, even American Chemical Society, like IITGuwahati or Physical Review letters, of course, Nature and all, they always did that. They just send it without even referring. They say, I'm sorry, I hope you'll find some other journal which will publish it or something like that. It is terrible. So this is a move. This is a situation wherein we can't get out of it. Even then, if you want to do something, you have to work on the right problem which everyone wants. Everyone notices. And that's why, some people have more citations than some others. Some people have more H-index, LL-index. So you don't have to worry about it. You will get it all provided you worry about the quality of the result and the kind of problem you are working on. And here I would like to make a comment. This morning when I was talking to some of the faculty, I was telling them, see, according to me, having been doing research for more than 60 years, I find the nature of science has changed. And the way we do science has changed. At least in chemistry is no longer an old organic, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry. No. It's a highly multidisciplinary subject. A good paper in chemistry today, in a major journal, will have some physics in it, theory in it, organic, inorganic, all gets mixed up. It's a very, very, very multidisciplinary subject. In fact, many areas have become multidisciplinary. A biologist will do computation, a biologist will do theory, like a chemist will do theory, a chemist will do all kinds of new experiments he never did before. So this kind of a new world we are in experimental science as well as in theoretical sciences, we have to worry about. We have to improve the quality by doing it more. Remembering, always remember, the difference between the second grade and the first grade is very little. Little more effort, the second class becomes first class. We have to try to do that. But I'm telling all this, I don't know, it's not advice I'm giving, that's what I try to do. Even today, I keep publishing, I publish about 25 papers a year, even now. When my citations are still increasing, at the age of 82, my H-index is still increasing. So as long as there is a sign saying that you are okay, you are doing all right, and so I keep going. And I can say this much, that we have to somehow change. We have to change in the way we work the problems. And if you don't pardon me, I told this in the morning, we have to work much harder. Unfortunately, what I notice, the working habits of average Indian scientists are not good enough. They don't work hard enough. At least in a good institute like Indian Institute of Science, I used to direct of that institute. I always wondered, the good professor comes at 9 o'clock to the office, 9:30. Of course, he has come all the way from the house, so he goes for a cup of coffee. So after that, he comes back around 10:30. Of course, he's again, some friends come, another cup of coffee. And then after lunch comes, hour gone for lunch, and after lunch he comes back by 2:33. Actually, he must have another cup of coffee. And then, the time comes before we go home, around 5 o'clock. Before going home, just one cup of coffee. If you don't like coffee, you can have tea, okay? The point is, an average professor in our institute spends 4 to 6 hours a day in coffee. Of the so-called 8 hours of work, at least 4. And I think seriously I will be lucky to work 4 hours a day. That is my average point. I'm an impartial observer. I'm no longer a director, I'm not observing, I'm not a spy. Roughly I see what they do. But I think that's not the way to do it. Or it will be like the Chinese, work day and night, there's no difference between day and night. So you can't be like Chinese, you can be only Indian. So we enjoy life quite more in many ways. So I think we have to just work harder, in addition to picking the right problems. With all that, there is agony, you see. doing science is not all pleasure. You suffer a lot. In fact, even today, I have a lot of sleepless nights. I go on composing abstracts and sentences in my dream because I have to write a paper or a very major paper for a good journal. I go on writing. In fact, I get all worked up about these things. And in fact, there are many days when I was young, when things were not clear, whether I was going to make a grade in science, I'm telling these young people, I used to suffer a lot. In fact, even my health failed because of that once. And I used to worry so much. And at that time, I used to think of the great scientists of India and also elsewhere, how they did such great things in their life. I always wonder how, for example, Ramanujan wrote the 3,000 theorems and conjectures sitting in a miserable place in South India. How did he do that? After all, nobody gave him a salary. Why did he do that? These kind of things amaze me. I never stopped wondering about how J.C. Bose in Calcutta in the year 1895, in the 19th century, mind you, discovered telegraphy in Presidency College and demonstrated to the public by telling a telegraphic message to Chowringhee from Presidency College. How did he do that? You know, for those who may not know the history of science, let me remind you, 1895 electron had not been discovered. 1897 electron was discovered. 1895 this young Bengali scientist does that in Calcutta. How can that happen? Amazing, they are all amazing stories of science. That is in India. Oh, this is C.N.R. Raman. Many people do not know, they don't even read about his biography. Since I have known C.N.R. Raman very, very well, I can tell you, this man used to be accounts officer in Nagpur. Morning 9 or 8 till the evening 5:30 would be in the office. Then he would go to the Nagpur Science College to do experiments. And based on that, he became fellow of the Royal Society, became an FRS. Even today, becoming an FRS is not easy. There are not too many FRSs in India or anywhere. How did he do that? And then you see, in Calcutta, most of the work which gave him the Nobel Prize in the end were work done during SAT after working hours in Calcutta in the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. This is amazing. These are inspiring stories from India. Of course, there are even greater stories from elsewhere. Stories of Faraday, for example. Faraday, a very poor family, working as an assistant to a bookbinder. He was one day, accidentally, when he was working with a bookbinder, somebody comes and the bookbinder says, "Sir, I am this young boy, very much interested in science. He likes electricity and all that very much. He's really very much interested in science." And he tells this man who comes to the bookbinder shop. And this man will say, "You know, this boy is interested in science. I have 3 tickets for the lecture of Sir Humphrey Davy in chemistry. Maybe he wants to go, I can give him the 3 tickets. He gives him 3 tickets. That changed Faraday. He takes his 3 tickets, attends these lectures of Humphrey Davy rather, and then comes back. He will take a copious note of the lecture, writes it all down nicely, writes it in a book, 3 lectures by Humphrey Davy, goes back to Humphrey Davy in the Royal Institution, gives it to him. Sir, these are your 3 lectures I've written and your notes and I bound it in a book. As usual, we always, well, very nice young man, I'm glad you have done that, and we sent him away. And before going, Faraday said, "Sir, do you think you can give me a job?" And I thought, as directors always do, sorry, there's no vacancy. But also, luck can be there in the way, see. And now, a month later, the man was cleaning the lab. In Davy's lab, runs away for some reason. I don't remember why he goes away. And then remembers Faraday, asked him to come back, gives the job of an attendant. Actually, Faraday's title in Humphrey Davy's lab was Chief Bottle Washer in the record. That is what Faraday started with. He slowly started helping Davy in the experiments. Eventually started working on his own, published his first paper in the year 1816, started more and more research, and became the greatest scientist of all time. Nobody can beat Faraday's record, remember. A man with 3 years of schooling, without adequate knowledge of either mathematics or English language, became one of the greatest speakers of English in the English language, great lecturer, probably the greatest scientist humankind has known. The number of discoveries he made. Oh, laws of electrolysis, every school child knows. He is the one who did work on magnetism, paramagnetism, diamagnetism, all these are his words. The word ion, electrode, cathode, anode, paramagnetism, diamond, all are his words. You know, he then discovered electricity. You know, the famous question of Gladstone, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Finance Minister asked, Mr. Faraday, what is the use? You think your work will have any use, this discovery of electricity? Sir, I think one day you will tax it, he said. And that's the And then you see the number of things, everything he did was like this. The number of experiments he did, the number of problems he solved was so astounding. I can go on giving more and more examples I won't. Then Lord Rutherford, the great physicist, said, if only he were alive in 20th century. Unfortunately, he was in 19th century, but there was no Nobel Prize. Faraday would have got at least, say, 6 or 7 Nobel Prizes. I would think at least 5, 4 or 5 definitely would have got. By the way, for those chemists and chemical engineers here, he was the one who discovered benzene, very most important molecule of organic chemistry. Well, more than all that, he is the one who gave the foundation of what is known now field theory and particle theory. He is the one who taught the unification of forces for the first time. Einstein, in his office, had photographs of Newton and Faraday, because he thought Faraday was the father of the idea of unification of forces. So he is the man who, this story is really inspiring. I can go on giving other stories, but that is not the main thing. The main thing is, to do that, you will be selfless, like Faraday. Faraday never wanted honors. He never wanted accolades. Queen Victoria writes a letter to him, Mr. Faraday, I would like to offer you knighthood. So he would have become Sir Michael Faraday. He wrote back, dear Queen, thank you so much, but I want to be just ordinary Mike Faraday. I don't want your knighthood. He didn't take it. Even more interesting, the Royal Society, of which I have been a fellow for 35 years now, I tell you that we elect a president. At that time, you know, people offered him, we would like you to be a president of the Royal Society. He wrote back, thank you so much for this great honor, but my place is in the laboratory, thank you so much. How many of us do that? We want to be, if you are a professor, you want to be a director, you are a director, you want to be a director general, you are a director general, you want to be secretary, you want to be a minister. Or, you know, our ambitions are different. You cannot have such ambitions and do science. Your ambition should be do science, you're an engineer, do engineering. Do greatest things in engineering, greatest things in science. That is the satisfaction we must have. Faraday is a great example of that. And the selflessness is something Faraday showed. In fact, to me, being selfish is something against science. You have to avoid young people. You know, I've had a lot number of young people who worked with me. I'm very glad one of my PhD students has just joined the faculty recently. Young people, they are the future. Don't ever forget that. I'm telling this to faculty. I know you, whether you like it or not, you become jealous of young people soon, because young people do better. Then our job as senior people is give them a tough competition. Make them work harder, because they are doing even better. That's what I do, give them a tough competition, but unfortunately nobody has competed me. Coming back to selfishness, you know, long ago, why selfishness is the way, let me tell you, there is a very famous statement that you guys all know. I'm coming to the end of my lecture. You know, if you are selfish, you cannot be fearless. There's only the unselfish man who can fearlessly state what he feels. Otherwise, your opinion will change the person you are talking to. That's the way of life in India. Nothing is constant. So being fearless requires absolute lack of self. And that's very important for a scientist. Absolutely selfless. In fact, Rabindranath Tagore, Gitanjali, writes a beautiful poem about selfishness. We just celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Nobel Prize, if you remember. Rabindranath Tagore says, I came out alone on my way to my tryst, but who is this that follows me in the silent dark? I move aside to avoid his presence, but I escape him not. He makes the dust rise from the earth with his swagger. He adds his loud voice to every word that I utter. In my own little self, my Lord, he knows no shame, but I am ashamed to come to thy door in his company. What a beautiful way of writing about selfishness. I think we have to somehow become less selfish and more purposeful. And this India's problem is that individuals work for them. As a very great man used to tell me, India, each one is working for his own, for him to go to the heaven. Nobody is worried about what happens to India. That's the problem. We in IITs cannot be like that. We in IITs, I have been an old IIT man. I'm telling you, IITs were built for this purpose, to produce the best of scientists and engineers who think of the country. And we cannot just think of ourselves too much. Anyway, leaving that aside, well, it's very important, therefore, we have to do many things. Unfortunately, there is not too much time for us. We have to compete, and the next 10, 15 years, we have to make the grade. If another time, I hope you know that in the papers, there was the front page yesterday, a paper yesterday, next 10 years will excel China in population, we'll have more people added, we have a huge country with more children, additional 5 crores Indians will be coming for higher education in 5, 10 years, 10 years or so. So we have a very crowded country, everybody wanting to go to education. What are we going to do? We have to plan that India, plan for that India, do something for that India. But it is crowded. Therefore, we young people here, remember, you have to think of a future where you can work and do new things, to create yourself a new niche where you can contribute to India and become famous yourself. Well, unfortunately, as I said, there's not too much time. We have to rush. In fact, time is another thing. India has no respect for time. Of course, they will say we have to do 5,000 years, there's enough time. It's not true. India has not very much time. We have to do it in the next 10, 15 years. I always read a statement of Michael Faraday for that. He wrote a letter to a friend of his who complained, why is it you are not writing letters back to me? When Mr. Michael Faraday writes to him, what is the longest and the shortest thing in the world? The swiftest and the most slow. The most divisible and the most extended. The least valued and the most regretted. Without which nothing can be done, and which devours all that is wrong, and gives life and spirit to everything that is great. It is what the Creator thought was so valuable that He only gave a limited amount of it to all of us. He said, God Almighty gave us only 100 years to live because time He thought was too precious to give. Otherwise, we would have all lived 500 years. That's what He is. I think we should do it in the short time. India has to do things in the short time. Well, as I told you, I'm 82, in my 82nd year. Because people ask me, in old age, why the hell are you working in a lab like a little 18-year-old running around? Well, where do we get the energy? Well, the energy comes because the mind, of course, I always quote Kabir Das for that. I hope you all remember Kabir Das' famous thing, Man mein Ganga, Man mein Kashi, Man mein Snan karo. Everything is in the mind. You have to work hard, that's it. So, our future is in the mind of all you. Our future is in the mind of IITGuwahati people here. I expect something from you. These Bombay guys, let them do whatever they want. You guys in Guwahati do it. I tell you why I was in Kanpur, which was a desolate place when I was in Kanpur. You are more or less like that. You have no question of attraction of any kind. You are just like others. Good, that's a good thing. That's the time you can contemplate. That's the time to plan. Time to think of big things. Time to think of what you are going to do the next time, in the future. I said, please do that. I think is a good chance for IITGuwahati. Well, I always, people ask me, what will you do the rest of your life? Well, I'll tell you. Thanks to my wife who showed me this. She showed me a wonderful quotation, a statement by the great musician Bismillah Khan, whom I used to know very well. Bismillah Khan, before he died, was asked, Khan Sahab, आप भगवान से क्या प्रार्थना करते हैं? What is it you pray to God? He said, oh God, let me be in the world of music as long as I'm alive. I do the same. Oh God, let me be in the world of science to the last day. I wish all of you will have had a similar disease as I have, the virus. I've had the virus of science I've not done very well by that. This virus is a very healthy virus, doesn't kill anybody, keeps your nose, really keeps you really motivated, and it's a wonderful thing to keep on and on and on. And I tell you, somebody asked me, I was interviewed by Raj Sabha TV the other day, and a few weeks ago. So what is your message? In fact, the same thing was asked in IIT Bombay by students. What is your message? Well, I tell you, the only message is simple. Since I'm talking majority of young people here, we need to have dedication. Dedication is absolutely important. Then we need doggedness. Whatever comes, we won't give up. And then we need a little tenacity. DDT, dedication, doggedness, and tenacity. Those three qualities can take India very far. And intelligence, I assume we have some little intelligence, so it's okay. Keep it. That is not important. I always quote, how did Mahatma Gandhi get freedom for India? Because he was brilliant, no? Doggedness and tenacity. Never gave up. My dear friends, join me, let us not give up and do something for India. I wish you lots of luck.
Let us thank Professor C.N.R. Rao for his far-sighted and very enlightening lecture. And so now I request Professor Ratna to felicitate him once again on behalf of IIT Guwahati.